Good morning again.
Good morning.
And good morning to everybody on Facebook who's tuning in, people who live here in the area and all over the world. So either come in or tune in every Sunday with here at Unity Spiritual Center. So this post was on Facebook, and I want to thank Linda for posting every morning to Facebook on our Unity Spiritual Center page. So this particular post, it says it's a huge tree, and it says, "This was once just a seed. What are you planting?" The interesting thing is, this was shared over 100 times. It also reached close to 6,600 people on our page.
Yay, wow.
Far more than any other post we've ever had. So I looked at it several times, and it's piqued my interest. I wonder what it is about that post that speaks to people. What is it about that tree and seeing that something as mighty as that huge tree? Look at all the branches on it, how wide and strong they are. And contemplating that it just came from a seed. And then putting in our minds, what is it we are planting? I kind of wonder if perhaps there's something in us that gets tuned in and has an affinity for reaching for our highest and best. That there's something within us that we may not even be aware of that wants to climb, that wants to seek something greater within us, that is called somewhere to something, even if we're not aware. There's so many people, and I've done it for many years of my life, where I just was going through the paces. Getting up in the morning, do what I had to do, go to work, go to school, whatever it was, come home, eat dinner, watch TV, go to bed, over and over and over and over again, like the hamster on the wheel. And so I think even if you're not actively seeking something, maybe there's something hardwired in us that wants our highest and best, that wants something else, that wants something greater, that seeks something, whether it's God or whatever you want to call it. I wasn't aware, many of you may be, that there's actually a branch of science called neurotheology. And they're studying whether or not it's hardwired into our brains to seek God. That there may actually be a place in our brains that wants God and knows God at some level. How fascinating is that? They're doing experiments around that, trying to see if that's really true, because a lot of people think, a lot of scientists think that is a distinct possibility. And so these urges that we have for something more may not just be some dream you picked up somewhere. It may be something in our DNA. Maybe that's what people clue into when they look at that. We've never had 6,600 people look at something on our page. Why are they looking at that? I am always fascinated that when spring comes, we go from kind of the grayness of winter, the brown grass, no leaves on the trees, the flowers aren't blooming, everything is just in hibernation. And then spring comes and the world just turns green It looks like it's alive again. Not that it's dead during the winter, it's just dormant and asleep. All the work is going on underground where things have been planted. And that's possible. That huge tree from a seed that is this small, all that potential wrapped up in a tiny, tiny little thing. When I contemplate things like that, I wonder how people cannot believe in God. How something like that is just possible. Wrapping our heads around that. Quentin, my husband's into astronomy. And so sometimes he actually gets me to watch something on TV, on Nova. And even though a lot of it just kind of goes over my head, and it's not my thing, I still get speechless when I contemplate something like a black hole or the vastness of space, stars, the speed of light. Well, Einstein was wrapping his head around that. And the rest of us just say, okay, glad he's got that. But what seeds are we planting? We've been planting all our lives, whether we knew it or not, whether we cared or not, whether we paid attention or not. Everything from the first, actually from conception probably, because things happen in the womb. We hear, we feel, we perceive. What your mother feels when she eats, all of that affects us. We're already collecting data. We're already planting seeds. And then we're born, and we're introduced to the world. And all this information is hurtling at us all the time, all the time, all the time. Every single second, billions of bits of data are being planted here and then planted in our hearts, planted in our psyches, and scientists are saying planted in our DNA. Changing our brain chemistry, changing our body chemistry. What are we planting? Do you think about that during the day? You wake up in the morning? What are you feeding this? Not just the physical, the spiritual, the mental, the emotional. Yesterday, during our event in memory of mothers and daughters, we talked about some of those seeds. Things that were planted in us, in our hearts and our minds by our mothers, by the people we loved, our grandmothers, the other women in our lives. Seeds planted. And we talked about that we have a choice about those seeds. Do we keep them? Do we nurture those seeds? Maybe there are some seeds we want to pluck out of the ground and throw into the compost somewhere. Lessons learned. And then we get to choose what we'll plant ourselves. What are you picking up from other people, from what people say, what they do, how they feel, what we watch, what's on our phones, the videos. There's a million videos at our fingertips, things that we can plant, take to heart, use for our futures, good or bad. It It doesn't matter, they're all seeds. And they all have the potential to do that, to be vast, to grow fruit, to create shade for other people, for ourselves, comfort, to move in the breeze when the wind blows. Trees give nourishment to the atmosphere. They clean the air. So as we're living and planting and reaping and sowing, are we conscious or not? Are we conscious? Does it really matter? There are days when I am really conscious about what I'm planting, about what I'm reaping and sowing, and other days not so much. Other days just on that wheel. You know, you can hear it squeaking in your head. Just running along, right? Feet scurrying through the day, but we're still planting. We're still planting. We're still being called somewhere. And some of us figure it out. Some of us contemplate the seed and the seed creator, that act of creation, long enough to be really, really conscious about the planting and the reaping and the sowing. I think when we get in touch with that which created the seed, then we don't have to worry so much about what we reap and what we sow. Because I think it all stays in flow. I think all the goodness of the one who created the seed flows into that creation, flows through us into what we do, into what we create, into what we say, what we sing, our emotions, our touch. We talked about touch yesterday a lot. A mother's touch. Being hugged. Feeling the warmth of them. My niece and I this morning were talking about the smell. Remember we talked about perfume yesterday too, our mother's perfume. My niece has a scarf. I remember I had it first, and it was in a box of my sister's things that I still had. And I remember opening up that box and smelling her on that scarf. And I just put my face in it and wept and thought, oh my gosh. And now she has it, and she still perceives that. And I wonder, is it possible that that scent is still there, or is it just the heart that smells? The heart that perceives her mother. What a thought is that? That seed that was planted in us way before we were given birth to. That connection to mother and father, of course. That somehow is in our DNA. We were once a seed. We were once the seed. And so is it when we see this picture that we contemplate ourselves at our best? In our potential, our fullest, that we can be mighty. Perhaps, I want to call it an oak, it may not be an oak. Remember we talked about the redwoods, right, Eddie? How vast they are. We are that vast? Is it our greatness that pictures like that remind us of? Our limitlessness. And there's something that's hardwired in us that says that's important. And it makes hundreds and thousands of people share it with other people. And we may not know why, but something in here is calling that says, pay attention. Pay attention to your potential. Pay attention to how vast and wonderful you are. Pay attention that you are always in divine potential. Pay attention that there's more. There's more. That it's all in the seed. Remember we talked about courage. You've got it all inside. The seed, the tiny little seed, has it all inside. So much so that it contains that. What if each day you woke up contemplating that? Ready to nurture the ground that you are planting those seeds in. Knowing that each day you have the potential to bear fruit. To give birth to something that did not live a moment before. That vast, that wonderful. I've never given birth to anyone, but I imagine that mothers, when they dream of the one that is being created within, that somehow they feel that. Somehow they have a clue that whatever this little creature is, has vast potential. And they want that for the seed that is growing within them. They want greatness. They want you to have what they didn't have. They want you to grow and flourish under the boughs of their branches. Divine potential. It's all in the seed. Remember, you are the seed. With limitless potential. As vast as a black hole in space. Always something else to discover about who you are. You can go where no man or woman has gone before. Yeah. Somehow I always get back to Star Wars and Stormtroopers. What is that? I don't know. I'm just being called there. Step aside. Yeah, step aside. So that's my challenge for me and for all of you. Wake up in the morning and contemplate that. That you are the seed. And you have vast potential in every moment of every day. And that you are hardwired for greatness. And for the Creator, seeking the Creator. Seeking what's already inside, what's already contained within. And nurture your seed. Nurture what's there. Care for it like you've cared for nothing else before in your life. Like the divine idea of motherly love. Nurture it like that. Pour into it love and peace and comfort and joy and wisdom. And then shine and shine bright.